Welcome. I'm Crystal Wright, VP of PR for Paysafe, and today's guest is SVP Securities Counsel and Corporate Secretary, Charlotte Anderson. Welcome, Charlotte. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks, Crystal. Happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm so excited to finally sit down with you one-on-one. I mean, we work together all the time, and, you know, I always like to start out the podcast chats with a little question about you. And you know what? As I think about that, I'm looking at that sweater you have on. There's a lot of little doggies prancing around in that sweater, Charlotte. I don't even know what breed it is. Can you tell me a little bit about why you're wearing that and what's up with the doggies?
Yeah, it's a great lead-in because you're going to then go to tell me a little bit about yourself. Well, this is a lot about my life. These are Westies.
Okay.
I have two Westies at home, Duke and Maggie. Duke's 4, Maggie's 15. She's my sweet old lady. I'm actually wearing a Westie ring as well. And Westie socks, but I'm not going to show you the Westie socks. I'm calling it Westie Friday.
Come on, pull up those boots. Let me see those socks.
No,
Okay.
I can't do it.
And now, what color are your dogs?
White. So Westies are always white. Always
I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the presidents had a Westie at one point.
Scotty.
Oh, a Scotty.
Looks
That's right.
very similar, but
Yeah.
it's black or brindle.
George W. Bush, right?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, he and his
TW.
wife Barbara. Yeah.
Yep.
And they were so cute. They were feisty though, but that's a Scotty. It's different than
It's
your
different.
dog.
It's different.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, you know,
You have a cat though, right?
yeah, I know. I'm a crazy cat lady.
I'm
I
a
only
crazy
have,
dog lady.
but I only-
clearly.
But I only have one. His name is Maximilian. He's a what we call a tabby Persian, and he's very majestic. I call him Max for short, but you know he had to have a very special name, Maximilian. So tell me though. All right, so I'm gonna go back. You know, I get distracted with the dogs and the animals. I mean, I'm an animal lover.
It's a conversation starter.
Yeah,
I wear
is.
it for that purpose.
I mean, well, you did a good job. So now tell me a little bit about where you grew up, and more importantly, why become a lawyer? You know, I've talked to a lot of lawyers all the time. They go to law school and then they never practice. So tell me a little bit about your background and why you became a lawyer.
Yeah, so I grew up in Burlington, North Carolina, mid-state, small town, very close, though, to Chapel Hill and Durham, UNC or Duke, whichever one you're a fan of. I won't give mine away just yet. Maybe I already did with my dog's name, Duke. So I think you're right. And really, the reason I became a lawyer was because of my dad. And he's always been my role model. We have a lot of attorneys in our family, I think, because he's their role model as well. 2 brothers that are attorneys, a sister-in-law who's an attorney. My husband is not an attorney, thank goodness. There's like too many. It's too many already. But he's really what inspired me to go into the legal profession.
And what did tell me a little bit, we were talking earlier about your dad's journey to become a lawyer. I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, so my dad was born and grew up in the Great Depression, dirt floor home. He's inspirational story. He went into the Navy after high school. When he came back from the Navy, against Veterans Day week, so I always get a little emotional thinking about it, he put himself through both undergrad and law school by working nights as a policeman. And while doing that, he graduated #1 in his class at Duke Law. So not only did he put himself through school, work nights, studied hard, and graduated #1 in his class.
And do you think when he was a police officer that really kind of sparked his desire to go to law school, I would think, maybe?
I think so. And I think we talked about this earlier. You know, that generation, what you saw as success and being successful, it was the old hat of you're either a doctor or a lawyer. So I think that's what success looked like to that generation, and he wanted to be successful.
Yeah, same with my parents. They grew up, you know, during the same time of your dad, Great Depression. And the options, you know, their parents wanted more for them. And so you're either going to become a lawyer, doctor, you know, a school teacher, an accountant. Like, you know, we heard our CEO, Bruce Lothers, talk about, I've heard him many times say that he became an accountant and majored in business school in college because that was a steady profession. His parents thought that's how he could do well. And, you know, my mom loved being a school teacher, but she secretly wanted to be a ballerina. But, you know, it was like, sorry, that wasn't being a prima ballerina wasn't in the cards at that time. I think her parents would have been like, what? You know? Yeah. So, yeah, it's interesting how you and I sit here today and doing maybe a lot different things than what our parents probably would have thought was open to them. So that's really neat. So this kind of brings me to the question at heart of the podcast, right? And I was thinking about what to ask you. And, of course, I would say the big question is, what does a corporate secretary do? I think many people watching the podcast are probably thinking, yeah, I don't even know. It sounds like it could be a cool job. What is it? So unpack that a little bit for me.
Okay, let me do my best to unpack that. First off, I love being a corporate secretary. It blends legal with other skills. So that's why I've always gravitated towards this as my profession in the legal field. So corporate secretary, you're required to have one under law. So the actual title, corporate secretary, can't be changed. That is the title. So for the end of time, it will be corporate secretary. There's a reason for that, though, that I am basically the secretary to the board of directors that oversees the company, and that's part of the role. So the legal side, I do compliance with New York Stock Exchange and Securities and Exchange Commission requirements and advising the board on governance matters. And then the other side is, maybe we could call it party planning. It's very stressful, though, so it doesn't feel like a party. But it's doing a lot of the things like logistics for the board members, scheduling the board meetings, making sure their preferences are taken care of, planning board dinners for them, car service.
Sounds kind of cool. It sounds like you're party planner, event planner, and then put your serious SEC compliance hat on, right?
Yes, exactly.
So tell me, in relation to that, what was a time when, you can take Paysafe out of it, or just think agnostically about, when you had to you were thrown like a surprise at one of these corporate meetings, these board meetings, and you were like, uh-oh, how am I going to scramble and handle this?
Yeah, I'm going to tell what I think is a bit of a fun story, also as a legal perspective, not from Paysafe. Quick disclaimer, this did not happen at Paysafe. This is not a member of the Paysafe board. I won't even say which one of my prior companies this is from. But we had a director who really hated eggs. The smell of eggs. You couldn't have eggs on the breakfast buffet. Everyone knew it. Well, the other directors love eggs. So we had an off-site meeting. We put an omelet station very far down the hall. No way he can smell the eggs. Gets off the elevator, immediately says, I smell the eggs. Get rid of the eggs. The eggs must go. I'm literally in heels and in my dress, because I'm still going to the board meeting presenting on the other side of my job, running to the end of the hall. Shut down the omelet station. Get rid of it. Get rid of it. We can't have it. Get rid of it. Everyone's scrambling. But those are some of the crazy stories that I have from this role. Anyone who wants to go out with drinks with me, I can share more stories. Again, it's more over cocktails kind of story.
Yeah, so it's almost like reminds me of a wedding planner's job too. You're blending that with the hysterical brides.
Yes.
And the brides who are like, this isn't right or that is right. That's really cool. Okay, so sticking with the legal profession. I'm sure you've maybe been asked this question a lot, but I'm just going to disclaimer here. I've worked with a lot of lawyers as PR professional over my career.
I'm your favorite, though.
Of course.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, so what do you think is the biggest misconception people have about lawyers in general, whether they be corporate secretaries, you name it? I mean, I have my own opinions about that, but...
Well, that's what I'd love to hear, actually. Let me hear your perception of the legal profession.
Yes, okay.
And I can tell you if it's right or wrong.
So,
How about that?
PR professionals, we communicate externally. We try to get exposure for the people we work for, whether that be clients, organizations. So we want media coverage. We want exposure. And you're the no people. You're the no-nos. So my experience with lawyers, they block what I want to say. They block my cool ideas. They're overly cautious. And I can't have fun, Charlotte.
Oh, okay.
That's my perception. And they always want to tweak oh, no, you can't say it this way. Then they want to put their legalese on it. I'm like, okay, so now no reporter's going to want to even talk to me the way you've written this.
So I don't think that's an inaccurate conception of most of the legal profession. However, I like to think that I'm different, and I like to work with the business and try to come to a place of yes. So that's really what I'm focused on. Maybe we can't do it exactly the way you want to do it or say it exactly the way you want to, but how can we get to where you want to go? And that's really my job, is to find a way to do what you want to do, and that's legal and safe.
Yeah, I love that. I think you said earlier, how do we come to yes?
Yes.
How do we get to yes? And I think that's a lesson really for us professionally and personally in life. Like, how do we get to yes instead of no? And maybe we're not. It's compromise and collaboration. Love it.
Yes.
Now, I guess as we kind of wind down our conversation, what kind of advice would you give your younger self? Because I know we all look back, we all have regret about things we would have done differently. If you could tell Charlotte, maybe, when you were first starting on your career, give her a piece of advice, what would you say?
I wish she had gotten some self-confidence sooner. I think I'm there now, but early on, I was scared to talk to people. I wasn't confident in what I knew I could do. I wish I could give a little bit of self-confidence to that younger Charlotte, and then also say, to the theme of say yes to opportunities as they come your way. I learned that later in my career and was very blessed to do that. I wish I'd done it sooner. So I don't know how many people know this about me, but I've had a lot of different roles through my career, not always in legal. I've done roles in human resources. I've also had roles in investor relations. And so that was a blessing. I just wish I'd done it sooner.
Yeah, I know. That really resonates with me too, because, I think about opportunities I let go by or I didn't embrace and step into because I had a little bit of fear. I wasn't as confident. And I thought, well, what if I do this and what if I fail, right? Yeah. But failure is, things don't work out. You just stand up again and move to the next thing. So I love that. And I think this brings us to always the fun part of the podcast.
Not the fun part.
Which I don't know if Charlotte's too excited about.
Not excited.
But you all know that I always ask what we call our out of the blue question. The guests don't know. Charlotte was trying to pry it out of me. I couldn't do that, Charlotte. So
I can feel myself turning red in the face, just waiting for the anticipation.
You guys aren't here with me, but she's got sweaty palms, I'm sure. But your out of the blue question is, if you were a superhero, which superhero would you be? Oh, come on, Charlotte.
Okay, so I'm going to say Superwoman, but a little fun story.
Wonder Woman, Superwoman.
I met my husband on Halloween, and I was dressed as Superwoman, so it also holds a little spot in my heart. And for one of my anniversaries, I had the costume and everything, and also Superwoman's powerful. And who doesn't want to fly?
Oh no, Wonder Woman, Superwoman, right? She's the one who, I'm thinking about all the movies over the years. Like Gal Gadot did Wonder Woman, her version of it. The glass airplane. I was going to say that as well. Like Wonder Woman has been my hero since I was a little girl, fighting forces of evil, the bracelets.
Maybe we come up with a new superhero though, and it's
who would it be, Charlotte?
Legal woman fighting the legal crimes and supporting boards. Yeah, you're right. It's not going anywhere.
I don't know. I like PR lady, PR Wonder Woman. I don't know.
People are not going to watch this podcast again after this.
So our task when we get together next year, we'll reconvene and we'll have our own superhero that we've created.
Deal. Deal.
Thanks for joining me, Charlotte. I really enjoyed this conversation. And you know what I always say? Tune in next time, because you never know who you're going to see.